The marketplace was a frantic, sealed-off island in the middle of the city. A sea of onlookers pressed against the yellow police tape, their whispers a low hum beneath the wail of distant sirens. My mother, clutching her empty shopping bag, found herself at the edge of the chaos, her face pale with confusion as she tried to peer through the wall of uniforms. My father, Detective Alex Chen, was at the heart of it all. When he spotted my mother, he broke away from the grim circle of officers and strode over, his face a mask of urgency. "Sarah, listen to me," he said, his voice low and firm. "Take Zara and stay home. Don't go out unless you absolutely have to. Be safe." He was already turning away when his partner, Captain Miller, caught his arm. "Alex, what about Chloe?" Miller asked, his brow furrowed with genuine concern. "Shouldn't you call and tell her to be careful too?" My father's expression turned to ice. A look of pure contempt hardened his features. "Her," he sneered, the word dripping with disdain. "She can die out there for all I care. I hope I never see her again." But he didn't know. He couldn't have known. He had already seen me. He just hadn't recognized his own daughter in the dismembered remains they were carefully bagging as evidence. My soul, a weightless, shimmering form, drifted beside him. I let out a sigh that made no sound. With my father's years of experience, I knew he would find my killer. It was a strange, cold comfort. "This is bad, Alex. Real bad," Captain Miller said, his gaze sweeping over the blood-stained concrete of the butcher's stall. The discovery of human remains in a public market was a nightmare. If the media got wind of it before they could control the narrative, it would ignite a firestorm of panic across the city. "We need to identify the victim. Now," Miller pressed, his voice tight. My father nodded, all grim professionalism. He was a good cop, dedicated and responsible, even if he was a terrible father. He glanced at the grotesque, plastic-wrapped bundles. "I'll get these to forensics immediately. Go home first, Alex. Get your family settled," Miller advised kindly. "It's going to be a long few days. We'll all be on overtime." My father nodded again, pulling out his phone. His face, so rigid and cold just a moment ago, softened as he dialed. "Honey," he began, "I'll be working late for a while. You and Zara stay inside, you hear me?" A sweet, chirpy voice floated from the phone. "Daddy." The transformation was instantaneous. The hardened detective melted away, replaced by a doting father. "Zara, sweetheart, you be a good girl. And listen to your mother, okay?" He spoke to her for another minute, his voice a gentle murmur, before hanging up with a satisfied sigh. As he turned to leave, Miller stopped him one last time. "You're really not going to call Chloe? Just to check in?" Alex's face went dark again, a thundercloud of rage. "She's better off dead. I hope she never comes home." A bitter laugh escaped my spectral lips. So, a soul could feel pain after all. It was a sharp, piercing agony, as if his words were physical blades twisting in my non-existent heart. My father wished me dead, and his wish had been granted. He just didn't realize that the evidence he was so intent on analyzing, the very flesh and bone, had been carved from my body. After 3 days of relentless searching in the surrounding neighborhoods, the police had managed to collect more of my scattered parts. The results from the lab left the entire precinct in stunned silence. They had less than a third of a complete body. "This wasn't just a murder," Captain Miller announced to the grim-faced team. "This was a butchering. The killer took trophies." My father stared at the diagrams on the whiteboard, his expression a mixture of professional shock and disgust. He'd seen horrific things in his career, but this level of depravity was new. They had initially assumed only the head was missing. Now they knew that most of me was still out there somewhere. If another piece of me turned up in a public park or a trash can, the resulting media frenzy would be uncontrollable. The case was now a top priority for the city. Captain Miller's eyes scanned the evidence table, landing on a small specimen jar containing a section of skin. He picked it up and handed it to my father. "What's this?" My soul trembled with anticipation. Finally, "You're going to find me now." I was certain that once my father knew it was me, he would move heaven and earth to find my killer. "This might be our most important clue so far," Alex said, his voice clipped and serious. "The DNA results will take time, but the victim has a distinctive scar on her right forearm. We can start with that." Miller's brow furrowed in thought. He hesitated before speaking. "A scar? Alex, I remember. Doesn't Chloe have a scar just like that on her arm?" "Captain Miller." My father's oldest friend and for nearly 20 years my kind Uncle Miller. He remembered. I got that scar in middle school. Long jagged gash from a bicycle accident. It was Uncle Miller who found me crying on the pavement and took me to the hospital. He still remembered. Before he could say more, my father cut him off, his voice thick with anger. Don't, Miller. I know what you're trying to do. You're trying to make me feel guilty. So I'll pay more attention to her. But every time I think of Chloe, I think of my brother's death. She murdered him. I will never, ever forgive her for that. The pain was back, sharp and suffocating, making my soul flicker like a dying flame. Murderer. Even after all these years, that was all I was to him. The one who killed his brother. I deserved to die. It had been a stormy night 8 years ago. I was 10. I was at my uncle's house playing with my cousin Zara. We argued over something stupid, a toy I think, and in a fit of childish anger, I ran out of the house into the pouring rain. My uncle and aunt, frantic with worry, got in their car to search for me. They never came home. A car accident on the slick roads took them both. My father, heartbroken and consumed by grief, took in his newly orphaned niece Zara. And from that day on I became the family pariah. He called me a killer, a jinx who had destroyed our family. My mother, a quiet woman who lived in my father's shadow, followed his lead, her warmth towards me turning to a frosty indifference. My life became a misery of punishments, insults, and neglect. My father poured all his love into Zara, the only child of his beloved brother. And now I had been murdered in the most brutal way imaginable. The killer had finally received her punishment. Maybe now my parents could forgive me. As soon as my father left the station, his phone rang. It was my grandmother. Alex, it's Chloe. She's missing. Her voice was a frantic, panicked cry. My heart, or what was left of it, clenched in my chest. My grandmother was the only one who had ever truly cared. How much pain would this news cause her? After my parents began to hate me, I spent most of my time at her house. She was the one who fed me when I was forgotten at dinner, the one who bought me clothes when mine became worn and small. She had tried to intervene with my father, but it only made their relationship worse. She's playing games again, Mom, my father said, his voice laced with annoyance. She thinks these childish tricks will get my attention. I'm not falling for it. But it's been 3 days, Alex. We haven't heard a word. That's her problem, he snapped, his patience gone. Don't ever bring that jinx's name up to me again. He hung up and, with a final callous gesture, blocked my grandmother's number. When he arrived home, he immediately went to find Zara. Zara, honey, Daddy's home. My mother emerged from Zara's bedroom, a smile on her face. The sound of my father's voice was the loving call of any doting parent in the world, a world away from the iron-willed Detective Chan. I once had a father like that. Now, he and my mother belonged only to Zara. Zara ran to him, wrapping her arms around his. Daddy, you've been working so hard. I've missed you so much. He stroked her hair tenderly. I know, sweetheart. As soon as this case is over, I'll take my vacation, and we'll go on a trip, just the 3 of us. A family vacation. It was a dream I had held on to for years. A dream that now belonged to her. Thank you, Daddy. You're the best. Zara beamed. My mother looked on, her face a picture of pure happiness. Then Zara asked casually, this dismemberment case must be really difficult, huh? Have you caught the killer yet? A flicker of professional instinct sparked in my father's eyes. Zara, how did you know it was a dismemberment case? My ghostly form tensed. This was it. If he pulled on this thread, he would unravel everything. Zara froze for a split second, then recovered, hugging his arm tighter. Oh, I heard you on the phone with Mom the other day talking about a case. I knew I wasn't supposed to ask you about it, so I just searched online. It was all over some of the local forums. My father sighed. It was a plausible explanation. Even with the market sealed in the age of social media, leaks were inevitable. He relaxed, patting her head. Don't you worry about it. Daddy will catch the bad guy soon. I slumped into a corner of the room, my hopes dissolving like smoke. The thread was broken. 3 days later, the investigation led them to a rundown hotel not far from our house. The owner's wife had called it in. A cleaner had found a room unusually tidy for a checkout, but the bathroom toilet had been severely clogged for 2 days. When a plumber was finally called, he pulled a small, horrifying clump of fleshy bits from the pipes. The plumber, unnerved, told the owner, The owner, fearing it would be bad for business, did nothing. He even deleted the security footage and check-in records for that week. It was only after his wife found out and berated him that he reluctantly allowed her to call the police. My father was one of the first on the scene. I floated behind him back to the place where I had died. The moment I passed through the doorway, an uncontrollable trembling seized my soul. The last day of my life replayed in my mind. A slideshow of torment and agony. The memories were so powerful I wanted to flee, but my spirit was tethered to my father. I could only press my ethereal form against his back, seeking a phantom comfort from the source of my deepest pain. The forensics team immediately identified the fragments as human. They found trace amounts of blood near the shower drain. This was the primary crime scene. The medical examiner's report was chillingly precise. Victim: female, age 17 to 19. Height approximately 5 feet 5 inches. A 10-centimeter-old scar on the right forearm. Based on decomposition, time of death was approximately 5 days ago. Victim appears to have undergone prolonged torture prior to death. A collective gasp went through the officers. "What kind of monster does this to a teenage girl?" one of them muttered. Captain Miller rushed over to my father. "Alex, your mother officially filed a missing persons report. She said Chloe has been gone for over a week. You need to go see her." My father exploded. "Are you serious, Miller? We have a sadistic killer on the loose, and you want me to play along with that Jinx's disappearing act? Where's your professionalism?" "I'm worried about your daughter, Alex. She's only 18. Another officer standing nearby hesitated, then spoke up. 18, sir? The victim's age is estimated between 17 and 19. Could it be?" My father shot him a look that could freeze fire. "You two? Don't be ridiculous. Police work is about evidence, not wild speculation. It's not her. Let's focus on finding the head. Once we have a face, we'll have an identity." Just then, another officer ran in. "Captain, we've managed to restore the hotel's security footage." A buzz of excitement went through the room. My father, however, suddenly lost interest. "Miller, it's late. Zara just finished her exams. I'm going to go buy her a gift to celebrate." But as the video played on the laptop screen, Captain Miller took a sharp step back. He yelled at my father's retreating back. "Alex, wait." My father stopped and turned, annoyed. Miller pointed a shaking finger at the screen. "Look, that silhouette. That's Chloe. I'd know it anywhere." The figure in the video was me. I was wearing a big baggy hoodie and a baseball cap, a mask covering most of my face. But Uncle Miller had known me for years. He recognized my posture, the way I walked. My father glanced dismissively at the screen and scoffed. "Enough, Miller. I'm not falling for this. You're trying to manipulate me. We have a job to do. Be worthy of the badge you wear." He turned, his voice dripping with venom. "And if Chloe really is dead, you be sure to let me know. I'll go home and set off fireworks to celebrate." He walked away, leaving Captain Miller standing there, his face a mask of black fury. Miller was almost certain now, but he needed undeniable proof. With my father, only cold, hard evidence would ever break through. My father was ambushed at the station entrance by my grandmother. Before she could even speak, he began to roar. "I told you I'm not playing these childish games. If she wants to die so badly, let her go do it at the edge of the universe. Just stop bothering me." Tears welled in my grandmother's eyes. With a surge of fury, she stepped forward and slapped him hard across the face. "How did I raise a monster like you? So cold and heartless." He wiped his cheek, his eyes blazing. "How did I get a mother who's lost her mind? You're completely insane over that Jinx." They screamed at each other until my grandmother, defeated and broken, turned and shuffled away. I yearned to follow her stooped, retreating form, but my soul was bound to him. As he walked away, I was pulled along, a silent, heartbroken prisoner. "I never lied to you, Dad." The thought was a silent scream. "I never played any games." He bought Zara the designer handbag she wanted and hurried home. The aroma of a home-cooked meal filled the air. My mother was setting the table while Zara, holding a spatula, emerged from the kitchen. "Daddy, you're finally home. You're cooking?" he asked, surprised. "You should have let your mother do it." Zara looked down, a picture of shy modesty. "I know you've been working so hard, so I made your favorite dishes. I hope you like them." She looked up, her face pleading for praise. He smiled, stroking her head. "Our Zara is the best girl in the world. My mother chimed in with her own praise. The cozy family scene was like a dagger to my eyes. The love that should have been mine had been completely stolen by Zara. It was just like that night 8 years ago. I was always the one who got hurt. I remembered her then, ripping the stuffing out of my teddy bear, screaming at me, "Why do your parents buy you toys and no one buys me any?" My uncle and aunt struggled financially. My parents always told me to be generous, so I often gave her my old toys. But she didn't see it as generosity, she saw it as an insult. That was the night I ran. That was the night her parents died. And after she came to live with us, she made it her mission to take everything from me. She framed me for stealing, for cheating on tests. She even started wishing my parents were dead so I would know how it felt. That was the one time I fought back. In a fit of rage, I screamed the most horrible thing I could think of. "That's why your parents are dead." I regretted it the second it left my mouth. But she didn't want an apology. She ran to my father crying. And she swore she would make me an orphan just like her. Now looking at the dinner table, I could see the truth. Of the 4 dishes, only one, a burnt blackened plate of greens, was hers. The rest were clearly my mother's cooking. My father knew Zara couldn't cook. But he didn't care. He praised her anyway. 2 years ago, for my mother's birthday, I had spent a week learning her favorite recipes from my grandmother. I cooked all day and waited. The 3 of them came home late, laughing from a day out. I eagerly unveiled the feast I had prepared, my voice small and pleading. "Happy birthday, Mom." My mother just gave an awkward smile. But my father's face went black when he saw the food. "You did this on purpose, didn't you?" he roared, lunging forward and sweeping the dishes off the table. They crashed to the floor. "These were all your uncle's favorite dishes. You're trying to torture us. You're reminding us that he's gone because of you." He screamed at me, his face contorted with rage. "You jinx. You should be the one who's dead. Get out. Get out of my sight." My mother just stood there silent. Even now the memory made my soul tremble with fear. I had only wanted them to be happy, to love me again. I didn't know. I truly didn't know that I was hurting him. Now I really was dead. He would be so happy when he found out. Dinner was a quiet affair, my mother occasionally glancing at my father, her mouth opening as if to ask about me, then closing again. A single cold glare from him was enough to silence her completely. After dinner, as they watched TV, Zara suddenly asked, "Daddy, you haven't heard from Chloe at all, have you?" My father's smiling face instantly darkened. "Don't mention her name in this house." A flicker of pure triumph, almost imperceptible, crossed Zara's face. "Okay, Daddy. I won't. Don't be angry." She must be so proud of herself. She had finally done it. She had killed me. From now on, my parents were hers alone. His phone rang. It was Captain Miller. "Alex, we got a positive ID on the hotel booking from the owner's wife." She recognized the photo. The person who booked the room. It was Chloe. My father exploded. "She's a child. What is she doing booking hotel rooms?" "She's playing you all for fools, Miller. Why are you wasting your time on that jinx? Let her die out there. It would be a service to the world." He raged for a full minute before Miller could get a word in. "Alex." Miller's voice was dead serious. "The room Chloe booked, it was the murder room." My father's tirade stopped short. The silence was heavy. For a moment I thought he understood. But then the denial slammed back into place. "You're lying, Miller. You're a detective. How can you lie at a time like this? You don't have a daughter, so you always treated Chloe like your own. I get that you care about her. But is she really worth compromising your integrity over?" His obsession with my uncle's death had completely blinded him. When it came to me, my father, the brilliant detective, became an irrational fool. Miller's voice rose, cracking with fury. "Detective Alex Chen, I am now officially ordering you to report to the precinct to assist in the investigation of a homicide." On the evidence table, under the harsh fluorescent lights, lay my belongings. My clothes, my shoes, and a small worn-out hair clip, its plastic tarnished with age. It was my most precious possession. A birthday gift from my parents when I was 10. The last gift they ever gave me. As the killer tortured me, I had clutched that clip in my hand, my mind filled with the fading image of my parents smiling, until my hand was gone. "You recognize these, don't you, Alex?" Miller's voice was soft but firm. "I remember that clip. Chloe wore it all the time." My father looked away, feigning indifference. It's a cheap piece of junk you could find anywhere. And I've never seen those clothes before. You've got the wrong person. It was true. He hadn't bought me a single piece of clothing in 8 years. He wouldn't recognize them. Miller sighed, dismissing him. As my father stepped out of the evidence room, he saw Zara being escorted down the hall by 2 officers. His apathy vanished, replaced by a surge of protective rage. Miller, are you insane? What is she doing here? She's just a child. You're scaring her. Miller stared at him in disbelief. The one who's insane is you, Alex. Ignoring your own flesh and blood to protect your niece. If you don't let her go, I'll report you to internal affairs. Daddy, I'm scared. Zara cried, playing her part perfectly. Let her go now, my father roared. This has nothing to do with her. The officer with Zara spoke up. Detective Chen, we recovered the victim's phone. The last call she made was to Zara. So what? My father shot back. That jinx was always bullying Zara, calling to insult her. This just proved she was harassing her again. He forgot this was a murder investigation. His words meant nothing without proof. Zara was led into an interrogation room. My father, as her guardian, insisted on being present. Zara, Miller began, his face stern. What did you and Chloe talk about on the phone? Zara put on her most innocent face. She was just yelling at me, saying I stole her parents, cursing at me and wishing I was dead. But I didn't do anything. My father immediately rushed to comfort her, glaring at Miller. See? It's exactly as I told you. Chloe is just jealous of Zara. I lunged at Zara, a silent, furious scream tearing through me. Liar. You're a liar. My soul passed right through her. I was powerless. I collapsed in a heap at my father's feet. Miller slammed his hand on the table. Zara, are you certain Chloe frequently called to insult you? Zara flinched but nodded. Miller stood up, pointing a finger at her. You're lying. He produced a file and slapped it down. We pulled Chloe's phone records for the past year. Every single call between you two was initiated by you. Zara's face went pale. She made me call her. She was afraid you and Mom would hear and hate her even more. Miller tossed a stack of printed screenshots onto the table in front of her. Then what are these? They were our text messages. Hundreds of them. Words that had broken my spirit, day after day. You worthless bitch. No wonder no one loves you. How does it feel to be hated by your own parents? You're just a pathetic little dog, Chloe. A jinx like you doesn't deserve to live. You should just die. Faced with the evidence, Zara finally panicked. My father read the messages, a slight frown creasing his brow, but he said nothing. Zara, ever perceptive, sensed his unwavering loyalty. I only said those things for you and Mom, she cried. I knew you hated her, so I hated her too. Just like you. My father's frown disappeared. That's right, he said, nodding. Zara is just too obedient, too loyal. Not like Chloe. She was a menace. Better off dead. Just then the door opened. A detective hurried in. Captain, we found the suspect on a security camera from the supermarket next to the hotel. The video showed a heavy-set man in a black hoodie and mask hurrying away from the hotel, carrying 2 large black trash bags. Police traced his route. He went from the hotel towards the market, a path conveniently lacking in surveillance cameras. When he emerged from the other side of the market, he was only carrying 1 bag. The head, an officer murmured. It must be in that second bag. After days of canvassing, a tip came in. A taxi driver remembered picking up a man fitting the description on the night of the murder. He remembered him because the man was bundled up in heavy clothes and a mask on a sweltering summer night. The driver had dropped him off at the city's main landfill. The officers' faces fell. Finding a human head in a mountain of trash was next to impossible, but they had a new lead. Next to the landfill was a cattle farm, and the farm's butcher, a man named Hank Malone, had a long criminal record. Captain Miller led the raid on Hank's house himself. The moment they kicked in the door, a wave of such putrid stench hit them that they staggered back. Inside, Hank was asleep on a pile of garbage. Who the hell are you? He snarled, sitting up. I froze, my soul shivering with a cold that had nothing to do with death. It was his voice. The voice from my nightmares. Hank saw the uniforms and made a break for the back door, but the house was surrounded. He was cuffed and dragged away, screaming about being framed. Miller and my father stayed behind to search the premises. As if guided by some unseen force, My father walked directly to a large industrial freezer chest in the corner of the room. He placed his hand on the lid. At that exact moment, a young officer ran in, his face grim. The DNA results are in. He glanced nervously at my father. Miller took a deep breath. Is it Chloe? The officer nodded. It's Chloe-chan. My father snatched his hand back from the freezer as if burned. He turned and glared at the young officer. What nonsense are you talking about? That Jinx can't be dead. Pests like her live forever. The lab made a mistake. Run the test again. He turned back to the freezer, dismissing the news, and lifted the heavy lid. The world went silent. Floating in the icy water, its eyes wide open and staring directly at him, was a human head. My head. My father stared, his own eyes wide with horror. No, it's not possible, he whispered. She's my daughter. I would have felt it. I would have known. He lunged toward the freezer, his hands outstretched, before his eyes rolled back in his head and he collapsed to the floor. When my father woke up, he demanded to see Hank Malone. Miller reluctantly allowed it. Alex sat across from my killer, his hands shaking with barely suppressed rage. Why? He choked out. What did Chloe ever do to you? Hank looked at him, a smirk playing on his lips. Who are you to her? Why should I tell you? My father's voice was a trembling whisper. I'm her father. Hank cupped a hand to his ear. What was that? Speak up. I'm her father, my father roared, leaping to his feet. Hank burst out laughing, a horrible grating sound. Her father? You? That's the funniest thing I've ever heard. He leaned forward, his eyes glinting with malice. You remember her last phone call? The one to your wife's phone that you answered? She was begging for your help. You told her to die. Well, congratulations. I made your wish come true. So why are you acting like a grieving father now? Who are you trying to fool? The truth hit my father like a physical blow. That night, I had begged Hank to let me make one last call. He had agreed a cruel game. He said if my parents agreed to die for me, he'd let me go. It was my only chance. But my parents didn't love me. They hated me. The moment the line went dead, I gave up all hope of survival. My father lunged across the table, but Miller and other officers were there to drag him, screaming and sobbing, from the room. My mother arrived just then, and when she learned the truth, she collapsed, beating my father's chest with her fists, her face streaked with tears and makeup. The guilt she had suppressed for years finally consumed her. Under intense interrogation, Hank Malone finally confessed everything. It wasn't me he had a problem with. The person who had hired him, who had lured me to that hotel, was Zara. He also confessed to something else. The car accident 8 years ago wasn't an accident. Someone had tampered with my uncle's car. Hank, then just a petty thug, had seen a young Zara fiddling with the car's brake lines. A few days later, he saw the news report of the fatal crash. He confronted Zara, and the little girl, terrified, confessed everything. She had killed her own parents. Did you hear that, Mom? Dad? My soul cried out. Zara is the real killer. Hank had used this secret to blackmail Zara for years. Her parents had a life insurance policy, and she was the sole beneficiary. But when Hank got out of prison after an 8-year sentence for other crimes, he came back for more money. Zara, tired of being blackmailed and consumed with hatred for me, offered him a deal. A large sum of money to get rid of both her problems at once. Kill me, and she would pay him off for good. She used my parents' names to lure me to the hotel, knowing I was so desperate for their love that I would fall for any trick, any sliver of hope. As my father was being led from the interrogation area, he saw Zara being brought in. She hadn't heard Hank's confession yet. Daddy, save me, she cried, running towards him. They're being so mean to me. I'm so scared. My father stopped, his eyes turning a terrifying shade of red. He shook off the officers holding him and lunged at her. The hands that had so lovingly stroked her hair now slapped her face with brutal force. Why? He screamed, his voice raw with agony. I treated you like my own daughter. Why did you kill her? Why did you kill my Chloe? Zara shrieked, cowering as he rained blows down on her. Other officers pulled him off before he could kill her. Behind the shield of uniforms, Zara's fear turned to a triumphant, maniacal grin. But Daddy, she laughed, a wild look in her eyes. You always said you wanted her to die. I'm a good daughter. I made your wish come true. You should be happy. My father fell silent. He sank to the floor, his body racked with silent, soul-shattering sobs. Zara confessed to everything. She had always resented her parents for their poverty and killed them for the insurance money. My accidental role as the scapegoat was an unexpected bonus. Living in our house, seeing the love my parents once had for me fueled a jealousy so intense it became murderous. She systematically destroyed my life, and when that wasn't enough, she had me erased completely. The case was closed. Zara, for her crimes, received a sentence that felt far too light. My father resigned from the force. He was a broken man. My mother, consumed by the truth, lost her mind. She would wander the streets, calling out my name to any young girl she saw. My father had her committed to a psychiatric hospital. He went to my grandmother and knelt on her doorstep, begging for forgiveness, but she never opened the door. Overcome with grief, my grandmother passed away a few months later. My father now spends his days in a drunken stupor, the agony of regret etched onto his face. I drift beside him, a silent observer of his self-inflicted hell. I gently touch his shoulder, though he cannot feel it. It's all over. My time here is ending. They know I was innocent. They have finally forgiven me. But we will never see each other again. If there is a next life, I pray for a father and a mother who will love me. Epilogue. Alex. My name is Alex Chen. 8 years ago, my younger brother died in a car accident. He was hit by a truck while running across the street in a storm. He was looking for my daughter, Chloe. I couldn't accept his death. It was easier to blame someone. I blamed Chloe. If she hadn't fought with her cousin, my brother would still be alive. She was a jinx. A curse on our family. I began to torture her, not with my hands but with my words, my neglect. I poured all my love into my niece Zara, and all my hatred onto my own child. And then my daughter died. Only then did I learn the truth. I had been a fool, a pawn in the hands of the real monster. I had not only been manipulated by my brother's killer, but I had actively helped her torture and destroy my own daughter. When I learned what I had done, I wanted to die. Zara was a minor. Her sentence was short. 3 years. I spent those 3 years living like a ghost, collecting trash to survive, waiting. The day she was released from prison, I was there to meet her. I cleaned myself up, smiled, and told her I was taking her home. She got in the car unsuspecting. I locked the doors and hit the gas. The car flew down the highway. She began to scream, to pound on the windows, to beg. "Daddy, please, I'm sorry. Let me be your daughter. I'll take care of you." How dare she speak Chloe's name? I floored the accelerator, aiming the car directly at a concrete bridge abutment. Zara deserved to die. But so did I. We both had to atone for what we did to my daughter. We both deserved to go to hell. As the concrete rushed toward us, I closed my eyes and whispered her name. "Chloe, Daddy's coming. I'm bringing the monster who hurt you. I'm coming to say I'm sorry."